Okay, so basically, before we start, what I'm going to do is going to be a few announcements. I'm going to update you on a few things as well. And then we're going to get into a masterclass. I'm going to cover it's a very important topic. I'm going to be revealing some really important information. Basically, the number one root cause of all of our problems as humanity. I'm going to be revealing what that is. And obviously, we're going to be talking about solutions and stuff like that. So I want to try and keep it maybe semi-interactive. I'm not sure how that's going to work out because there's a ton of comments coming through. I'm going to try my best. I guess that's the best I can do. So guys, thank you so much for passing through. Right, just before we get started, while we're waiting, if you haven't already joined my private Facebook group, The Paths of Ascension, please go and check it out. My assistant's going to post a link to the group. Go, join the group. There's going to be a lot of exclusives, so this masterclass, this is the only time I'm going to be doing this on my personal profile. So moving forward, I plan to try and do this weekly. But the idea is I'm going to be doing it in my private group. And every week I'm going to be teaching a whole bunch of things, and I'm going to be doing demonstrations as well. I'm going to be doing lots of demonstrations and stuff like that. So if you haven't already joined the group, please just click the link. It's in the comments now. Very quickly, join, and then I'll come back here. Okay, guys, let's jump straight into the masterclass. Let's talk about some serious stuff now. Okay, I'm going to stop smiling now. I couldn't even if I tried. Right, okay, masterclass. In this masterclass, I'm going to reveal some important information. Okay, I'm going to be tackling mostly the root cause of all of our problems, guys. So you've got to listen. I'm tackling stuff that is relevant to you today, okay? This knowledge will empower you, all right? It will set you free if you can assimilate it, right? There's understanding something, so that's bringing it in on a conscious level, right? And then when you understand something, you've assimilated it into your subconscious, into your DNA, into your luminous energy field. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what is the luminous energy field? Let me give you guys a few minutes. Let's try and keep this a little bit interactive. I'll give you, say, 2 minutes. Someone tell me if anybody knows what the luminous energy field is. Just put it in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. What is the luminous energy field? Debbie, you don't know? Okay, no worries, I'm going to explain. Okay, guys, the luminous aura, the aura is actually part of the luminous energy field. Okay, a lot of people think aura is your full field. It's not. It's a part of it. It's the colors of your chakras. It's just literally the reflection of the energy centers. The same colors of your energy centers make up your aura. The aura is part of the luminous energy field. Manifestation of thoughts and feeling? No. Thanks for trying. One more. Anyone? Just guess. Just put anything in there. Just one more, and then I'll spill the beans. The light of source. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you so much. The luminous energy field is the part of you that is eternal. It's an energy field that has many frequencies, right? It's a field, an energy field, lots of frequencies. And the lower frequencies are what manifest in this physical realm as your body. So whenever this luminous energy field decides that it wants to experience life in this realm, it creates those lower frequencies. You are born into a new body. Whenever this luminous field feels that it doesn't want to be here anymore, it sheds those lower frequencies, and you lose your body, you die. So your luminous energy field is the part of you that lives in infinity. It's actually your true self. It's the part of you that was here from before linear time. Before this linear time thing started, your luminous energy field was here. And your luminous energy field will be here at the end of linear time. When this whole linear time thing is finished, your luminous field is still going to be here. So why are we here, right? Why did we come to Earth? And again, I know you guys know this, but for those that don't, we've come here to experience everything. So we're talking the good, the bad, the ugly. You have been through countless lifetimes. You have played all roles. You've been murdered, you've been the murderer, you've set villages alight, you've killed people, you've tortured people, you've been killed, you've been tortured, you've done everything. Everybody on this call, everybody that is awakening at this time is an old soul, okay? There are no young souls awakening. The young souls are those guys that laugh at us, that are not interested in anything to do with energy. For the most part, they're stuck in religion, okay? Now, so the old soul, the reason why we have no desire to go out there and murder people or steal or rape or do any of these crimes is because we've already done it. We've already been those people. You know, it's, you know, in spirituality, we talk about, oh, letting go, you've got to let go. How does that work? Do you understand how you let go of something? If you really want to understand this, look at a child, look at a 2-year-old, yeah? A 2-year-old, let's say we have a birthday party and I've got a 2-year-old son and I give him his favorite present, say a 2 or 3-year-old. I give him Ninja Turtles. He loves Ninja Turtles. I buy him a Leonardo toy and he gets it. He's so happy. All his friends are around and he's so excited with this toy. If in that moment I say to him, oh, let your friends play with your toy, he's not about to let that toy go. He's like, no, he's going to hold on to it because he hasn't played with it. He just opened the toy and now you're asking him to hand it over to somebody. He's not prepared to do that. He hasn't played with it yet. He hasn't experienced it yet. Leave the toy with him for a few days, let him get his fill, and then ask him again after he has played his heart out with the toys, ask him to hand the toys over and he will gladly do that because he has already experienced it. He's ready to let it go. That is exactly how it is. It's the part of us that, you know, that we want to let go. You can only let go of something that you have already fully experienced. That's why we're here. We're here to know what it feels like to be tortured and hung or skinned alive. We've come to experience what it's like to be doing the skinning and the hanging and the torturing. Do you see what I mean? We play both roles, right? So the reason why us here do not feel the need to go out there and murder people is because we've already done it. We did it in many past lives. We've done it all. Now, in the process of going through all these lifetimes and experiencing the good, the bad, the ugly, we have picked up a lot of wounds. So every time that you are murdered, every time that you go through heartbreak, every time that you're abandoned, every time you go through any form of trauma, trauma doesn't have to be something huge. It could be you get bullied at school or somebody close to you that passes, or, you know, it could be something, and trauma isn't the event. Trauma is the story you write around the event, how you understand what has happened, the story. That's what trauma is. So trauma is different for different people, but so let's say you've been through thousands of lifetimes, and every time you incarnate, you go through trauma. When you go through trauma, 2 things happen. The first thing that happens is soul fragmentation. So a piece of your luminous field breaks away and leaves, okay? The reason why it's leaving because it doesn't want to be tainted. It doesn't want any of this mess that you're creating. It doesn't want this energy of this trauma. It goes, okay? And when that happens, the second thing, an original wound is created. The original wound is when a person goes through trauma and has a massive emotional charge in terms of the event. So they become very, whatever it is, and they die without healing the emotional charge. So again, just to repeat that, the original wound is when someone dies with a massive emotional charge. If this emotional charge hasn't been healed before death, it becomes an energetic imprint floating around your luminous field. So your luminous field has been here from the first incarnation that you've had, and it's here today. Okay, so today is your current incarnation. You've probably lived 1,000 lives. Across all of those lives, you've incurred lots of wounds, lots of traumas, lots of imprints in your luminous field. So your luminous energy field is like a massive data bank. It has all the information. Every strand of hair on your head has a unique imprint. in your luminous field. Your luminous field informs your physical reality. It's almost like if I have a glass, okay? Let me lift my hands up a bit. If I put a glass with metal filings and I put a magnet underneath, the magnet will arrange the metal filings. In the same way, your luminous energy field arranges your physical reality, okay? Pretty much very similar. Now, the problem, so now let's talk about affinities. So affinities are these deep inner wounds, these original wounds that are floating around in your luminous field. They're imprints in your luminous field, bits of information, okay? They are dormant for the most part. So like, you know, on your computer, you've got these desktop icons. They're there, but they're not doing anything, right? So if the second I double click on an icon, it then wakes up and takes over the operating system, isn't it? That is exactly what the affinities, these are these imprints. That's what they do. Let me give you a better example, okay? So let's say I get murdered by, let me pick Christian. Okay, so Christian in the past, no, Christian, not quite Stacy. Okay, so Stacy, right? So in 50 lifetimes ago, Stacy murdered me, right? In that murder, I had soul fragmentation and an original wound was created, okay? 25 lifetimes later, I bump into Stacy again. But this time we get into a relationship, right? That relationship triggers us. So there's a soul contract there, okay? So the soul contract was created when Stacy murdered me the first time. So the affinity is connected to me and Stacy through the soul contract, okay? So when I meet up with Stacy 25 lifetimes later, the soul contract is activated, the affinity wakes up. The affinity that correlates to this contract comes alive, latches onto one or more of my chakras, okay? So this is how these inner wounds work. Now, the chakra system is an interface between your luminous energy field and your physical body. It's what connects the two. So anything in your luminous energy field that wants to manifest in this physical world has to go through a chakra. A chakra is like a portal, okay? So these affinities, these wounds have one purpose only. Well, they have one, but they serve two. They want to express in the view that you heal them. So they latch onto whatever corresponding chakra that is related to them. They start to express themselves, okay? When they express themselves, we experience the manifestation of those expressions as all negative energies, all negative emotions, heartbreak, disease, car accidents, broken relationships, financial blockages, triggers, anything from as little as I don't like that smell, or I don't like that sound, or that voice irritates me, something so minor. As long as it triggers you or gives you some kind of negative feeling, it is an expression of an affinity. All the way through to heart disease and cancer and everything in between, all mental disease, you see, the thing is, we are light beings, right? So we do not have the capacity in our purest form to generate any form of negative energy. So if a negative energy is being created within us, it comes from one of those inner wounds, the affinities. So now if you heal those affinities, the negative energies disappear. So how to know if someone's really healed? They have minimal issues. Like the world is a very safe place around them. You know, the outside world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you're full of wounds, you're going to see wounds everywhere, and it's going to be a very unsafe place. But if you do the inner work and you do the healing work, the world starts to become very safe, and you look around and you don't see, you see healed people all around you, okay? So that's the luminous energy field, okay? So this is the foundation, the basics. You've got to understand this. Your luminous energy field is the part of you that lives in infinity, that is eternal, that informs all aspects of your physical reality. Everything that's happening to you in this physical world, either good or bad, has an imprint in your field, okay? Now, affinities are deep inner wounds that are created through multiple past lives when you have to go through pain and trauma. You have to, because that's how we grow. You know, like a muscle, the bodybuilder goes into the gym and he traumatizes his muscles, right? they tear the muscle fibers. And when this muscle heals, the muscle becomes bigger and stronger, right? It's exactly the same way how the soul grows. We expand and grow through trauma. The trauma itself doesn't expand us. It's the process of healing the trauma that we become bigger and stronger, okay? So the affinities are the wounds created when we go through these traumas. The affinities are what wake up through soul contracts, and when they wake up, they latch onto chakras, they start to express themselves, and those expressions are the problems we have in our lives. Anger, addiction, you name it, they are all expressions of deep inner wounds. If you work backwards to every single problem you have, you will find that the roads all lead to a wound that happened to you God knows how many lifetimes ago, okay? So this is just the foundation. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. What are entity attachments? So entities are energies, just like us, okay? Intelligent, conscious, aware energies. We have a few of them. There are spirit entities. Spirit entities are human souls. We call them spirit entities, okay? You know, I'm not saying that all spirits are entities, no. Remember, I refer to spirit. Spirit's a very vague term to describe or to refer to anything in the non-physical, okay? We call God spirit, or we call, you know, spirit ancestors, or our spirit guides, or, you know, angels, just spirit, okay? That's just a general term. In this, when referring to entities, spirit entities are not the same. They're spirits, but not in that context as, you know, when I said spirit earlier on, that I was being directed by spirit. Spirit entities are human souls that pass. Now, when a soul dies, when a human being dies, not a soul, the soul never dies, sorry. When a human dies, sheds the body, the soul, depending on how this person lives, so if they're confused, if they're afraid, if they don't understand the process of afterlife and what happens when you die, there's a very good chance that person can become earthbound, okay? So on my YouTube channel, there's a series, the Dark Entity Attachment series. So when you go to my YouTube channel and you subscribe, go into the playlists and you see, there's 4 videos. I've recorded everything you need to know about dark entities there. So spirit entities are human souls that are earthbound. They can't, they're trapped. The only way they can go to cross over the portal of light is through a healer like myself or anyone that does an entity extraction. When we pull the entities, when I pull a spirit out of a person, I hand them over to my lineage. My lineage are all the medicine men and women from the past, the present, and the future. And when I open sacred space, I call them and they come. And like right now, there are thousands of spirits around and they're protecting all of us, okay? They're protecting us from, you know, there's a lot of energies out there that want to feed. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So you understand how the energy works, the world of energy works. You've got to understand this. So these entities, spirit entities, they are the lessers. They, for the most part, are not that malicious. They will cause problems. The spirit attaches to you. It's attaching to you because you have a corresponding affinity. So I'm going to talk about this in a second. Then you have the demonic entities, okay? So there's a whole range of different types of demonic entities. You have lesser demons, you have watcher demons, you have giant demons, you have giant shape-shifting demons. These are the common ones, and there's a whole bunch of others I'm not going to name that are very dangerous, okay? So these ones are harder to remove, and they're very sinister and very difficult to detect. I'm not going to say the names of them because if I did and you speak it, you come into its awareness. So there's a whole bunch of them. And then you have the dark force entities, which are higher on the hierarchy. So the dark force entities, you have dark ETs, extraterrestrials from a dark, so from dark planets. These consciousnesses, these beings are not like us. They're not polarized to the light. They're polarized to the darkness. So they've come here to feed. And so you have your dark ETs. Then you have sorcerer spirits, which are people that practice dark magic. Anyone that uses negative energy, there's a massive price to pay. A lot of people are dabbling in it. A lot of people, and they think it's fun. Okay, fair enough. But when you die, then you find out why. I'm in 2 minds whether to go into detail about this, but maybe not. Maybe on another call. So sorcerer spirits, okay? So these are the common ones. Spirits, demonic entities, dark force entities, dark ETs, sorcerer spirits. These are common. It's estimated that over 95% of humans on the planet right now have some level of entities attached to them. Now, the reason why we have an entity attachment issue, let me backtrack a little bit, give you a little bit of a history behind it. So a lot of people ask me, why can't I protect myself from entity attachments? There is no protection. Okay, I'm just going to be really honest with you. Anyone that says, yeah, I'll put even the pyramid of light protection will not stop an entity from attaching to you, and I'll explain. The reason being is these beings are our duality. So as per the universal law of duality, nothing can exist in this realm or in this universe without an equal opposite present in the same space and time. That's how it's anchored into this reality. So like up and down, left and right, white, black, love, hate, good, evil. You see what I mean? Left, right. You can't go right if there's no left. You can't go 20 meters forward without 20 meters backwards. Okay? Now you understand what I mean. That's duality. So we are light beings. What does that mean? It means that we also need to have a duality to exist here. The negative beings are our duality. Okay, so that's the first thing. We're like two sides of the same coin, right? So because of this relationship they have with us, they have access to us. So the negative energies, right? Let me explain how it's supposed to be. Is we initially had a symbiotic relationship with them. You know, like, you know, the sharks that swim with those little fish. I don't know what they're called. Those little fish that eat all the parasites on the shark. The shark protects the little fish cleans the shark. If you look in nature, you see lots of symbiotic relationships. Now, we have that too with these dark entities, because what's happening is we light beings are here to experience everything. As we go through the process of experiencing, we're incurring a lot of wounds. We're picking up affinities. We're going through lots of trauma. So these wounds, before we can ascend, we have to heal all of them, 100%. So just so you guys know, the only reason why you are here today is because of your deep inner wounds. Once you heal all of them, you won't come back. You're only here to heal, nothing else. Don't get distracted. Yeah, you're here to heal your deep inner wounds, and you do that unconsciously every day. Okay, I'll explain, hopefully if we have time, what that means. So this symbiotic relationship works like this. We go through multiple lifetimes and we pick up a lot of trauma. These affinities wake up with soul contracts and they latch onto chakras, they start to express themselves. We start to go through drama and problems. It comes to our awareness and we deal with it. We work through these problems. When we work through these problems, we're healing the affinity in a very long-winded way. So now this is where it gets interesting, is the affinity latches onto a chakra. So the chakra is spinning and the affinity latches onto it. It sinks roots into the chakra and it starts to express itself. Now, the affinity is a negative energy. Because it's a negative energy, when the chakras process it, there is a byproduct, right? The chakras are really designed to process positive energy. But because it's a negative polarized energy, there is a byproduct. In my shamanic lineage, we call it hucha. Some people call it lush. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So there's this negative energy, this byproduct, and it's like a tar. It's a gooey, dark. It reminds me of sewage, thick sewage, right? And it blocks the chakras. So the chakras slow down. They don't actually stop, but they slow all the way down. They stop working properly. Now, the negative energies feed on the hucha. That's what they feed on. So the relationship is that we go through life, we incur a lot of wounds, we start to heal these wounds. Before healing these wounds, they come to our awareness through the expression of the affinities. Every time we feel a negative energy, every time we feel the expression of an affinity, hucha is created. Because for that feeling to manifest in this physical world, it had to go through a chakra. And in that process of going through the chakra, this byproduct was created. Now, negative energies come and feed on that. So what's supposed to happen is entities will come when we have too much hucha, they attach to us, they clean up the chakras, they eat all the hucha. When there's nothing left, they leave. That's what's supposed to happen. But that's not what's happening anymore. Dark ETs turned up and messed the whole thing up. So these ETs taught all the lower vibratory entities, so the spirits, the demons, the dark force, the dark ETs, the sorcerer spirits, they taught them that, listen, guys, you guys are scavengers. When these humans give you hoocher, you eat and you leave, but for the most part, you're starving. How about this? We teach you how to farm them. So these entities now attach to us, right? And they're putting us in loops of trauma, of negative thought programs, of karmic loops, all kinds of different kinds of loops. And every time we get stuck into this loop, we're creating negative and reinforcing negative thought programs, but we are creating hoocher. Okay, so these entities now attach to us and they don't want to leave. They just want to keep on manipulating us to create more food for them so that they can. So we're being milked like cows, or we're being kept in pens like chickens, laying eggs. And that's the honest truth. So it's turned from a natural symbiotic relationship to a parasitic farming type of relationship. That's why we have a problem, is that we're being farmed, okay, for food. Now, one of the shocking things that I discovered when I first became a shaman was journeying into the underworld, journeying into the spirit world. I noticed that there were a lot of hungry spirits. And that was fascinating because I thought that only people in the physical body had to eat. But as above, so below, as within, so without. The spiritual world is literally very similar to the physical world. They're both energetics. The only difference here is the physical world, the energy is a lot denser. So, but the spirit world runs almost the same. Energy has to be fed to be sustained. Now, as light beings, we are blessed because we have constant food coming from our higher self. Let me give you an example. If I had a guitar and I pluck the strings of the guitar, the vibration goes, right? So I pull the string, it's vibrating. That vibration is life. It's what we are. We are just vibrations. Okay, everything is a vibration, right? So I pluck the string, the vibration is going. If I keep plucking the string, the vibration will keep on going infinitely. Okay, it will just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. But if I stopped plucking the string, it will carry on vibrating to a point and then it will stop. Oh, Siri, sorry about that. So it will keep on vibrating and then it will slow down and eventually it will stop. So that's what vibration is. Something has to feed the vibration for it to keep vibrating. Now, the good thing with us is that we have a matrix, a whole structure from what people deem as God, a 12th dimensional being, is basically stringing all these strings, keeping the entire universe going, okay? And it goes down to levels. So us on this level here, our higher self is pulling the string. So our higher self feeds us every day. The reason why we are here and able to sustain this physical manifestation is because our higher self is sitting there pulling the strings of the vibration all the time. So we're being fed to our higher self. Our higher self is being fed by their higher self, and they're being fed by theirs, and they're being fed by theirs, and it goes all the way infinitely to God, and God is sitting there stringing, the guitar, keeping everything alive, right? Okay, the negative energies don't have that. They don't have a higher self pulling strings and keeping them going. They have to look for food. The food that they eat is hoocher. So they come to us for food. They are like, they're basically, okay, yes, we have a parasitic relationship now, but it wasn't always like that. So they are like, those birds, those cranes that jump on cows and eat the ticks off the back of the cow or off the back of the animal. That's kind of the relationship we have, but that's all changed. So energies have to be fed to sustain themselves. We have a system that feeds us the whole time. We don't even have to worry about that. They don't. They have to look for food, and they find the food in our suffering. So when they come and if any of you have lots of entity attachment issues, the entities, it's not personal. They don't hate you. They're not trying to destroy your life. They're just hungry. And you have a buffet of food on display. So of course they're going to knock on your door and not want to leave. Let me give you another analogy. I use this a lot for my clients. I know there's a few of you here, so you've heard this before, okay? So let's say, let me pick a random Bob. That's the first name I saw in the comments. Sorry, guys. Gina. Let's do Gina. Sorry, Bob. Gina. Okay. So let's say Gina lives in a country or in a town that is infested with wild dogs. Okay. So there's lots of wild dogs there. And in her house, she has a restaurant. She has a steakhouse. So she's making steaks the whole day, busy. So she has all these leftovers, all these cuttings and bones from the kitchen. She puts them into a bin. When the bin gets full, she wheels it out the back and leaves the bin out the back. Now, these wild dogs come, they knock over the bin and they have a feast. But Gina's restaurant is so busy that every hour there's a bin full of meat going out, meat and bones and cuttings going out. So these dogs now decide that, listen, guys, we don't need to leave here because there's food constantly coming. So they camp and they set up shop in Gina's garden. So Gina has a problem. She has an infestation of wild dogs. So she calls the exterminator. So I come with my cages and I catch all of them and I leave. She pays me and I leave. But Gina keeps wheeling the bins of food out every hour. What's going to happen in a couple of days? Other dogs are going to come. They're going to set up shop. And within a week, she's back to square one. This is the easiest way to describe any kind of entity attachment issue. If you have entities attaching to you and you're struggling to get them off you, the problem is that you have affinities, overactive affinities, creating too much hoocha. The hoocha is what's attracting them. If I have a handful of sugar and I throw it on the floor, I'm going to attract ants, isn't it? If I have a handful of seeds and I put it on a windowsill, obviously not now because it's late, but a whole bunch of birds are going to turn up and start eating. If I have chakras that are over-processing hoocha and I have hoocha pouring out everywhere, I'm going to attract dark entities. They're going to come to feed because they are hungry. Okay, so that is the basis of entity attachments. Entities are, as I said, all these negatively charged beings, negatively polarized beings that attach to us to feed because we have these wounds that process these affinities that produce hoocha, which is what sustains them. Okay. Why do they attach to us? They attach to us because they need to feed. So guys, it's not personal. Do not take it personal. Rather focus on why are they here? They're here to eat. Okay, cool. What am I doing to keep attracting these beings? That's where you focus. You focus on your inner healing because that is what's feeding them. Okay. So they attach to humans to feed. Now, as most of you know, I'm a shaman and the bulk of my work is entity extraction, soul retrievals, and all that kind of stuff, and healing affinities. I will share with you the most effective way. I'll share with you a couple of ways of healing these deep inner wounds. Healing your deep inner wound is the most important thing that you can do. It's the only reason why you showed up is to heal. You've already experienced everything. So now you have to heal and clear all of that, all that trauma so that you can ascend. So all of your paths to ascension will always take you around opportunities for healing. Okay, so just understand that healing your deep inner wounds should be the top of your priority. Okay, so with the entity extractions, there's quite a few different methods I use because I'm initiated in different shamanic lineages. I use, depending on what entities I need to remove, will depend on what modality I use. So I'll just talk about a couple of them. The most common one is using Christ consciousness. It's very basic. I actually teach some of my clients this. I'm in the mystery school. There's going to be a course, a very cheap and cheerful course that will teach you how to detect entities in your field, in your loved ones, your family, in your home, and how to clear them. But it's a very basic method and should be used with caution. You must never do it to somebody outside of your family. You must never offer it as a service and get paid for it because let me try and explain it this way. These entities are smart, they're conscious, they're just like us, yeah? So every time I do an entity extraction, if I pull out the spirit is taken with love. The spirit is then handed over to the lineage. They take the spirit through the portal of light. The spirit meets its soul family. It gets healed. It carries on. It does its life review, and it carries on with this journey. It's a beautiful story. With the dark entities, it's very different. They get annihilated. I know people don't like talking about this, but I'm just going to call a spade a spade. When I pull demons out or dark, any kind of negative energy, when it's taken, the consciousness is destroyed, but the energy is recycled. So they're basically put to death. They're not allowed, they can't, every time you extract an entity, that entity can never come back because it's gone, right? So if you're someone that's constantly, someone like me or the other shaman, right, that do this type of work, and we're constantly pulling out entities and clearing people, we have massive enemies on the negative side, because as far as they're concerned, we are killing them, we are hunting them. So they're going to come after us. So, you know, we have a whole bunch of protection, but, you know, we get attacked all the time, you know, because of this work that we do all the time. We have demons following us, waiting for an opportunity for us to slip up so that they can jump in and cause havoc. So that's why with the basic clearing methods, don't overdo it. Just clear yourself, your home, your family, they will leave you. But if you go out there and start clearing every Tom, Dick, and Harry, you're gonna end up in a big problem. Like a lot of my clients, I have a lot of people that have come to me who are living horror stories, real life Stephen King horror stories, the works. There are people that are living that every day. I promise you, every day. I might, you know, a lot of, you know, because of the taboos around the dark entities, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. But I want to try and convince maybe one of my clients to just share her story with you so that you see what is really happening out there, okay? So, so the extraction is that basic method. We use Christ consciousness. You're using your personal power through your throat chakra, so you're speaking, and you're speaking through your person. So the more you do it, your personal power grows and it becomes more powerful. You're building relationships with these specific angels that are doing the work too. And then there's a fluid extraction. I'll show you guys. So I'm going to give you a quick, so with the fluid extraction, the more advanced methods, we use extraction crystals. So I'm going to show you mine. Okay, so that's a typical extraction crystal. Okay, this is what traps and catches entities, and inside this crystal, it's a beautiful cathedral, stunning, and a lot of them don't want to leave sometimes. So sometimes when we extract them, it's a mission getting them out of the crystal because they love it in there. So the crystal extraction we use to pull entities that are a little bit more difficult. So the first method won't quite work, but this second method works. And then there's more advanced methods which involve clearing overlays, clearing feeding tubes, journeying into the underworld. So the underworld is the collective unconscious. You can call it that. It's pretty, yeah. So, and when we journey into the underworld, so, you know, a lot of people think when you say underworld, they think, oh man, it's hell, it's the underworld. No. In the shamanic, the way we learn as shaman, there are three worlds. There's the underworld, which is pretty much the past, where all the lower entities are. All the lower entities are there. And then, which is our collective unconscious. Then there's the middle world, which is this realm. And then there's the upper world, which is the higher realms, okay, where the higher beings are. So the underworld isn't hell. The underworld is where we journey. So we send a fragment of ourself down into the underworld, and it goes to Huasca, who is the guardian of the underworld. And Huasca, then we ask for permission to access the sacred domain of the client's soul. And we go into the sacred domain of the client's soul. We access the chamber of wounds. So it's a part of the client's psyche where all of the traumas are. And in that chamber of wounds, that's where all the entities are, because they're feeding, all the wounds are there, and that's where it's at. So we go in there with our crystal and we clean up. And sometimes there's a big full-blown fight, but sometimes they run away and we just clean up. So that's more of an underworld extraction, which is a little bit more, you know, you have to be fully initiated as a shaman to do that. There's a lot of wisdom teachings around it. It's a whole process, okay? So those are the methods. There are other methods, but I'm not going to speak on those. So these are the three most popular ways. The soul retrieval is a little bit more complicated because the soul retrieval, remember when you go through trauma, there's those aspects of yours that have left and have gone. We have to journey into the underworld and we have to convince them to come back. Now, if you went through trauma and a piece of you left, okay, so that piece of you is connected to an incident where a traumatic event happened and that's why they left. There is an affinity there, there's a soul contract. So if I go to that aspect, the left, and ask it to come back, the first thing it's going to do is going to look at you and see if that wound that scared it in the first place has been healed. If that wound hasn't been healed, that aspect won't come back. So a soul retrieval happens much later when you've done a whole bunch of healing work. I do two types of soul retrievals. There's the basic, which I do anyway. Every time I clear a client, I do a basic soul retrieval. It calls back all the small aspects like dust, like smaller pieces, not the main ones, the big ones, the smaller ones, lots of smaller ones that are attached to other people and being nuisances here and there. They all come back, but some of them leave, some of them stay. But a master aspect retrieval, a real deep soul retrieval, we look for aspects of yourself that were masters, parts of you that lived fully enlightened lives. So these were leaders, they were teachers, they were prophets, they were so successful, they achieved 100% full enlightenment, they've come into their powers. All of you have lived those lives, okay? I know some of you might struggle to believe that, but trust me, all of you here are old souls, you have master aspects. So these aspects are the ones that we journey, and there's a whole process trying to convince them to come back. And if you have done the healing work, they will come back. And when they do come back, they come back with all of their gifts, all of their powers, all of their wisdom, okay? They come back with a lot of other gifts too. Sometimes they come back with power animals, and a lot of times they come back with treasures, and they teach you how to use these treasures to integrate them into your psyche. So those are soul retrievals. Now, let's talk about how do you heal these deep inner wounds. Okay, this is important stuff now, guys. So before I get into this, let me lubricate. How do you heal these deep inner wounds? Hold on a second, just looking at the comments. There's a lot kind of here. Okay, cool. Okay, so deep inner wounds. Shadow work is a method. Look, I'm going to tell you the truth of shadow work. I know I'm going to upset people because shadow work is very mainstream. There's a lot of people that have built their whole careers on shadow work. So what shadow work does is, these affinities are expressing themselves, okay? So when an affinity latches onto a chakra, sinks roots into that chakra, and is now expressing itself, the expressions are all negative energies, all negative experiences, all negative emotions. Anything negative is an expression of an affinity, right? So while this affinity is expressing, okay, what shadow work does, it brings your awareness to the manifestation. So if I meet someone and I dislike them, or for whatever reason, I don't like them, shadow work teaches me to ask the questions, why don't I like them? Why am I feeling this way? What is it in me that I'm afraid of? Or what is it in me that I see in them? So you are working and processing the manifestation of the affinity. That results in healing when you figure it out. It's not, you're not healing the affinity, you're healing its channel of expression. So affinities have many channels. So if this particular channel expresses with some kind of insecurity when you're around better looking people, example, you're doing the work, you're doing the shadow work, you're asking the right questions, and you're processing. All of a sudden, you close down, because of the awareness, you close down this channel. The affinity will then start to express through a different channel. So that's what shadow work does. It helps to heal the affinity really slowly. It helps to heal those channels, but it's not healing the imprint. Okay, so shadow work is something that you're going to do forever before you get any leeway. It's not very effective. That's the honest truth. And you should know by now, anything that's commercial is no good. the masses, anything that the bulk accept, understanding how humans are programmed, you should understand that that is the truth is possibly in the opposite direction. Okay, just so you know, everybody runs right, you turn left. Okay, so shadow work it works, not very effectively. Okay, another method is what we all do every day. So every time you have a problem and you start working through your problem, you're healing your affinity. So every time that you start to, those expressions, you process them or you get over them. Let's say you hate a particular smell, but then you're forced to work in a place that forces you to become used to that smell. When that smell no longer triggers you, the affinity channel has been healed. Not the affinity, but just its channel of expression. So we are everyday life. When you go through your life, you are constantly healing, constantly just breathing and just walking out into the world. You are healing affinities. So that's why we're here. So every time you suffer, you're healing something. Every time you realize something, you're healing something. Every time you overcome something, you're healing something, okay? So that's what's happening. Very slow. Right now, at this time, we are at the last 100 meters of a 1,000,000-mile marathon, okay? So yes, those methods work, but some of us have come to show us a better way. So the shaman of old discovered a more efficient way of healing deep inner wounds, and they've been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years. Obviously, with the new age religions, so we're talking 2,000 years ago, they wiped all of that. They tried to, they didn't succeed, but they demonized anything that wasn't Christian, or you know the story. Okay, so all of these modalities, these teachings went underground. Now, there's something called an illumination. An illumination, as a shaman, we are trackers. So the shaman of old would be, the shaman would live on the outskirts of the village. The villagers will go to the shaman. The hunters will go to the shaman and say, hey, where are the animals going to be tomorrow? The shaman will be able to go into the future and track the animals and tell the hunters that the animals are going to be there tomorrow. The hunters go there and they find the animals. When there's no rain, the villagers will go to the shaman. The shaman will then connect with the elements and pull and call rain. The shaman will bring the rain. Okay, so the shaman is the mediator between the physical, non-physical world. So the shaman, we're trackers, right? So what we do is when we are faced with a client that has an affinity, we track so a client has a problem, we track the problem all the way through to the affinity imprint in the luminous energy field. And that's where we heal it. We are not interested in the manifestations, because we understand that once we can track the affinity and identify it, we can heal it on a chakra level. We basically clean up the chakras, remove the hucha, and we pull the affinity out and we feed it to the fire. So in the fire, there's a spirit that we call the grandfather fire spirit, which eats and consumes hucha. That's what it loves. So we feed it to the grandfather fire spirit and we pull the affinity out. We then bring in light and rewrite the story. So the space where the hucha and the affinity used to occupy, when we clean it out, we bring light in and we fill it with that. So the illumination process is by far the most effective way to heal any form of deep inner wound. The beauty about healing energetic imprints in your luminous field is that once that imprint is healed, all of its expressions disappear, okay? Whether it be disease, bad luck, whatever it is, it disappears, okay? So the illumination is the most effective way of healing your deep inner wound. So when I do an extraction, I want to do an illumination as well, because once you clear the entities, we need to find the affinities that are feeding the entities. And once we track those affinities, we heal them. That's the only way to stop entities from reattaching to somebody. Every time we heal the affinities, we're clearing out those big bins of meat and food. The more we work on the affinity, so it's like chipping away at a tree. We keep chipping away at it. Eventually the tree falls. So every time we do a session, every time we do an illumination session, we are basically culling and reducing the amount of food that's being processed. And ultimately, once it goes down to a certain level, the entities can no longer attach to you. The affinities are like a hook that the entities use to latch onto you, okay? If you don't have the corresponding affinity, they lose interest. They have no interest in you, okay? So that's pretty much illuminations. You will find them on my website. So entity extractions on my website, illuminations on my web, everything I've spoken about, go onto my website, have a look, more information on there. And if you want to book a session, by all means, reach out to me. We can talk about it. Okay, so let's have a look in the comments. Yep. Lots going on. Awesome. What is that? Would love to do shamanic work. Okay. All right. No, don't worry. I'm going to come back to the comments. Obviously, now I can't really focus on them. I'm going to come back to them and look at the end tomorrow, maybe. And I'm going to respond to everybody. So you can type whatever you want in there, and then I'll definitely come back to you. One other thing I wanted you guys to know about, I get a lot of people that come with curses and hexes, okay? Understand that, and they want to know protection, protection, protection. The strongest protection that you have is your luminous energy field. Nothing can penetrate it. The only reason why you're having problems is because you have holes in them through the soul loss, soul fragmentation, and that's where, so if someone goes to a sorcerer and then wants to put a hex or a curse on you, let's say financial blockages, let me tell you what the sorcerer does. The sorcerer scans your luminous energy field for affinities that correlate or correspond with the outcome that they want. So they look for affinities that manifest in things that will cause you financial blockages. When they find the affinity, they send an energetic shard, like it looks like a piece of wood, and it latches onto your luminous field and it wakes up the affinity. And when the affinity wakes up and latches onto your chakras, you then have financial blockages. So all of the problems are within anyway. And that's why the African saying is, if you heal, or if you do not have an enemy within, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. So ultimately, all of our problems are all within. They're all our affinities. Even if it's somebody on the outside triggering it, understand that outside is not the problem. It's all within you. So that's pretty much what it is, okay? Right, so what did I cover? The luminous energy fields. I covered affinities, deep inner wounds. I covered entities and detachments, why they attach, the types of extractions, soul retrievals. I covered the illumination process. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to talk about before we go into Q&As, and if anybody has a real problem and they want to help and they're brave enough to jump on the call, I'm all yours. So there is a luminous energy field scan that I do. So a lot of people are not aware that they have entities attached to them simply because they've had them in them for so long. The longer this energy stays in you, it becomes part of you. You know, you're in a bad mood the whole time, or you have these things and you just think it's normal. It's not normal. I promise you, we are blissful, joyful beings. We are pure, unconditional love. 100% unconditional love. The only thing that turns us dark are our wounds. If you remove those wounds, we're back into love and light and all of those beautiful things. So a lot of people have had entities from childhood and they don't know. So if you want to know if you have any kind of entity attachment, so in the luminous energy field scan, what I will do is I will scan your luminous energy field for all the attachments. I will also scan for energetic sickness, reverse polarity. That's when your energy field is depleted because of all the parasites and it's now flowing in an anti-clockwise rotation. It means that you're no longer creating, it means you're now consuming, because your energy field is so depleted, it's pulling energy from its surroundings, pulling energy from other people, from nature. It's pulling from animals, pulling from wherever it can. So I check to see if you've got that. I check for dark portals in your field, hexes, curses, negative implants, crystallized energies, fluid energies, negative psychic connections, the works. There's a whole list. You'll find it all on my website. If you go under luminous energy field, there's a whole range of things that I check. I'm going to gift everybody that watches this a 50% discount on the luminous energy field. I feel like it's so important, especially if you are on a journey of healing. The first thing you need to know is what is in your luminous energy field. See, a lot of people don't even know this. So the first place, when we do a luminous energy field scan, it's like going to the doctor and getting your bloods done. Everything shows up. all of your issues, everything, even those that you are not aware of, will show up in your luminous energy field scan. So my assistant's going to post a link and a coupon. So it's going to, we'll keep it open for 7 days. So in the next 7 days, you can get 50% off a luminous energy field scan. I normally charge £33 for a scan, so you're getting it for like £15 for like, you know, I don't know, a coffee and a muffin in Starbucks, I guess, you know, at the same price. So you get a full report and all of that stuff. So I'm going to gift everybody, even those on the replay, remember, type in #replay, so I see you. On the replay, it's available. So, okay, yeah, there we go. She's posted the link. She's going to post the coupon. So keep an eye out for that. Those of you that are serious about your healing journeys, go and get a luminous energy field scan done and have a look at what is happening in your luminous field. 50% off for the next week, okay? Right, so I think we should jump on some Q&As. How much time have we got left? I didn't want to go to like, okay, we'll do maybe another 10, 15 minutes and then we'll call it a day. Guys, listen, if you haven't joined my group, now's a good time to go and do it. The next week, we're going to be digging a little bit deeper. This is the first one. We just sort of touched the surface. I'm going to go into some real stuff. I'm going to, you know, depending on what spirit guides me to share, we will chop it up and get into the nitty gritty. Right, okay, Q&As. Thank you. I'm just looking for questions. Okay, something that is repeatedly happening to me. So if something is repeatedly happening to you, it means that you're in a cycle. Yeah, you're trapped in a cycle, in a loop. That's what affinities do. So an affinity, once it latches, it needs to express. When it expresses, it also feeds. So if a particular thing keeps on happening, it means that the affinity is just expressing, and it keeps expressing, and it finds this channel of expression very beneficial because you go for it. It creates, you fall for it. You're not aware that there's an affinity there, so it keeps doing it. Now, the problem with this is that, like, for instance, if there are patterns that have killed you over past lives and will carry on. So you would find that you probably, let's say someone that got a spear in the back would have got speared in the back countless times because of that cycle that keeps repeating itself. Now, what happens is that spear then crystallizes in that person's physical body as a crystallized intrusion. So when I look at their luminous field, I see a spear with this either a wooden or metal spear going through the person's back. And you find that this person has a lot of health issues around that. And this thing is constant, like a beacon, just pumping out negative energies. So you've got to be careful of these cycles. You've got to, so with this information will help you. Look, feel free to reach out to me if you want to dig a little bit deeper, but ultimately you have a deep inner wound that is constantly expressing itself, and it's every time it expresses, it creates that loop, the habitual negative thought program, that habitual thinking, or that habitual way of doing whatever it is, gets reinforced, it gets fed, and it becomes stronger. So if you have a cycle of things, car accidents or whatever it could be, anything, you have an affinity expression. So if it's heightened, it probably means there are entities also there now, and they are making things worse so that they can have more food. So ultimately, you want to get an aura scan, not an aura scan, a luminous energy field scan. That will tell you exactly what's going on. So take advantage of the 50% discount, jump onto the website, get that booked, and then we'll have a look and see what's going on. Right, how do you become a shaman? Through processes of initiation. Unfortunate thing is that there are more showmen out there than genuine shaman. We call them showmen. You know, you can go on Udemy and find a week course and you become a shaman at the end of the course. Of course not. You're not a shaman at the end of the course. So there's a lot of people that have gone and done all these there's a lot of people milking the spiritual. We're in a time of the awakening. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot of opportunity. A lot of people see opportunity for making money. So they put out all kinds of stuff. So it's very difficult to find genuine masters that can give you the proper, true initiation. So if you're serious about it, send me a message on Messenger and I'll point you in the right direction. I know I'll show you the real guys where you can get true initiations as a shaman, okay? If you feel that that's your calling. Right, another question in regards to healing. In regards to healing, I went through sexual abuse as a child. I thought it healed, but still getting angry. Of course it is. Everything is interconnected. So you're still angry because you have a wound. If you haven't healed it, then it hasn't gone anywhere. So, you know, if you don't heal something consciously, there's a very, especially if the affinity is now manifesting as disease, it means it's a very old affinity. Every time an affinity has a whole lifetime of expression without you healing it, it will stay awake in your subsequent lives, and it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger because it has experience. It has had a whole lifetime of food. So, you know, if it's manifesting as physical disease or incidences where it's manipulating your environment to cause harm, car accidents or whatever, it's an old affinity. It means that you have to heal it. So this knowledge today will definitely help you. Now you are aware of something. It's a game changer. Now that awareness will put you will set the intentions and you will start moving in the right direction to get them healed. Ultimately, what I would recommend is you get a luminous energy field scan. And in that scan, it will tell us exactly what is going on an energetic blueprint level. Okay, so that's what I would advise. Tracy, I occasionally hear voices that make a comment or tell me something at random times in my it depends how, you know, it could be higher self tend not to talk like that. I doubt it's your higher self. Your higher self wouldn't just whisper to you or start talking. Your higher self is so subtle, and you have to earn that communication with your higher self through healing, through raising your frequency. You've got to come and meet it halfway. Your higher self won't just come to you and start talking to you. It will rather send spirit guides to do that. Okay, but they also won't talk to you. They whisper in the wind so subtly that you have to be so still to be able to hear them. And if you're not still, you will have no chance of hearing them. Okay, so it could be a whole range of things. It sounds like entity stuff. A lot of entities do voices. When people start hearing voices, very typical entity attachment sort of issues, very typical. So what I would recommend for hearing voices is it could be, I don't know it all. In fact, I know nothing the more I think I know. So what I would recommend you do is get a luminous energy field scan. And in that scan, we will know exactly what it is. It's, you know, we can guess all day long, we can talk all day long and try and figure out what things are, but you never really know until you actually look at it. And that report that you get gives you a full breakdown of what is going on in your field. Voices, it could be your spirit guides, probably not. Sounds more like entity issues, but again, I'm just guessing. I don't know until we have a look. So the voices, if it's an entity issue with voices, the problem is it's quite advanced. For entities, it takes a very long time for them to be able to do that. So an entity will attach to you very subtly, very gently, and very slowly make its way deep into your psyche, okay? They don't like coming and beating their chest because then you're aware of them, and they depend on you not knowing that they're there for their survival. So they're very subtle, but if you've had them in for a very long time, then they will start, they're so deep in your psyche that they're now able to talk to you. A lot of people hear the voices. You know, a lot of people in the mental institutions are not, they just have entity issues. I have a lot of clients that, you know, are fully healed from these mental issues that they were drugged up the whole time for and locked up. And as soon as you take them through that process of healing those affinities, they, you know, they're in the clear. So my advice to you, get the luminous energy field scan. Let's see what's going on. Let's know for sure whether it is entities. And if it's not entities, then great. It's definitely then probably your spirit team or your guides. And depending on how advanced you are with your spiritual practice, it could be your higher self. But like for the most part, the higher self is very subtle. It really doesn't just come and start speaking to you in your ears like entities would. They will talk to you. They will talk to you in your like non-stop, like an earworm that won't go away. And then, you know, it's an entity issue. I hope I've answered your question. If not, by all means, just send another one. Okay, what is the best way to heal a sibling situation from a past life? What is the best way to heal a sibling situation from a past life? What is the sibling situation? Need more information? Could be anything. So just give me more information in terms of what this sibling situation is, and then we can look at it. So just, I have a lot of fear, abandonment, rejection, affinities. How do you overcome the fear? Fear is 100% an expression of an affinity. Anything to do with fear. It comes from a wound. You're afraid because you died. You went through trauma. You remember it. Your luminous field imprints in your DNA. So the decisions you make today will affect 7 generations. I'm sure you've heard that. So you also are carrying the affinities of your ancestors, not just you. You're carrying the affinities of your bloodline. It's a relay race. When we pass it on to the next generation. If we can't do it in this one, we pass it on to them, and we keep passing it on. They call that the generational curse. It's basically affinities on the relay race. So whenever we heal ourselves, we're healing 7 generations. Easy. Okay? You're healing your bloodline. You're healing millions of people that are going to come after you. So this healing work is super important. You're the ambassador of your bloodline. So fear, abandonment, rejection, all affinities. Okay? All affinities. We need to know. So now if the fear is really heightened, if the anxiety is really on 100, then there's entities making it that way. Affinities will cause problems, but they don't go overboard. Like, they won't turn you crazy. Entities do that. What they do is they're milking us. So they will come in, use the affinity, heighten it to produce more hoocha so that they can have more food. And in the process of doing that, they destroy you. We go through the worst. So I would recommend a Luminous Energy Field Scan. Get your 50% coupon, book it. Let's have a look. Let's see if there are entities. If a lot of fear, possible entity attachment issues, possible. Ultimately, you need to work on sorry, I just saw that. So you need to work on the affinities. That's the bottom line. The affinity is number 1 priority. It's the only reason why we're here, is to heal those things. Define hoocha. Hoocha is loosh. It's the byproduct that the chakra, when a chakra is processing an affinity. So for an affinity to express in this physical realm as addiction or bad mood or irritations or whatever it expresses that, it has to go through a chakra. The chakra is the interface that connects our luminous energy field to this physical world, to our physical body. So when this luminous energy field in the chakra wakes up and attaches, when this affinity in our luminous field wakes up and attaches to a chakra, the chakra is processing this energy. Because it's a negative energy, the byproduct is hoocha. This hoocha is what entities come to feed on. Okay. So Gina says, I want to heal myself. There are a lot of ancestors and future family who will be healed if I start with them. Absolutely. 7 generations off the jump. We're talking millions of people. Absolutely. Yeah. I made a post a while back where I discussed how many ancestors it took to produce you. Now, look at, so it's like 2,000 something. All of their wounds you are carrying. All of them. So as you can imagine, we have a lot of work to do. So absolutely, you're healing all of them and all of them to come. Can egg cleanse? Question, can egg cleanse help? No. Well, I know those processes, they don't work. Okay. They don't work at all. They don't even work on the basic spirit entities, the easy ones. They don't even work on them. They're better off for other type of rituals, but not for entity extractions, no. About what you're saying about the loss of self and trauma, how do you know if you've lost a part of yourself? Wounds. So anytime you have an affinity, a deep inner wound is connected to an incident that, soul fragmentation, soul loss. So when you go through trauma, the first thing that happens is a piece of you leaves, which creates a hole, and an original wound is created. So the two are always present. If I have a wound, I have soul fragmentation. Okay. For that wound to happen, I've had to lose an aspect of myself. So yes, there are very few people that are in whole soul. Most people have fragmentation because we have the affinities that we have to heal most of us will never get it done in one lifetime because it's like an ocean and the waves keep coming. So a group of affinities will come, will get healed, and then you'd have a little break, and then another group of affinities will wake up and so they keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming. Remember, we're healing affinities from the first incarnation, from the first time we walked on this planet. It could have been thousands of lifetimes ago. We're healing those too, and everything in between. So we have a lot of healing work to do, okay? Can a demon give a cat a feeling of power when it's removed? The cat feels lost in age. It's open eye. Yeah, well, entities attach to everything. They can attach to objects. They can attach to, they ultimately want people because they can feed, but they attach to animals. They attach to your building. They attach to objects. So, normally when you remove entities from a human or an animal, they get better. They don't go downhill. So there's something else there. So this cat hasn't been fully cleared. Now, there are some entities that a lot of healers cannot see. They don't have the ability to perceive them. A lot of other entities, yes, the common ones, the spirit entities, demonics, dark force, dark ETs, sorcerer spirits. Okay, most healers can see those, but there are others that are undetectable. There are modalities, specific modalities, ways of tracking those. Only a very experienced shaman will know how to do. So sometimes when you go to a healer and they look and they'll see spirits, they'll see dark forces, but they don't see the other guy that's behind. So they'll clear those, but that other guy's still there. And you'd find that the person doesn't get better or, So in your case with the cat, I suspect that there's something else that's still there. Okay, I don't think the cat's clear. Okay, so definitely got that going on with sibling of mine. She says, I'm mental. Right, it's very familiar. Like I see this all the time. Now the thing is, your sibling, everybody's on their own journey. You can't do anything for her if she doesn't want to do it. So if your sibling isn't aware that there is a problem, if she can't see the need within herself to want to get healed, you can't do anything. You just got to focus on you. Now, anything that she does that irritates you, now check this out, has nothing to do with her. The reason why you're irritated is because of the expression of an affinity, remember. So, for instance, there's things that she does that doesn't bother you. You can't even see them. The reason why you can't see them is because there is no affinity for that thing. So it goes, no triggers. But when she does something else that could be even less problematic than the other thing that you don't recognize, and then all of a sudden you have this reaction, is because you have an affinity for that thing she's doing. So you've got to go back inwards. You've got to heal those affinities. And she can carry on with that behavior and it will not affect you. It's almost like it didn't happen. Okay, so with regards to your siblings, you could talk to her if she wants to do the healing, then it will work. I personally will not work with someone that doesn't want to do it. Okay, they have to want to get the healing. They have to want it. They have to be prepared to do the homework. There's a whole bunch of homework afterwards. If you don't do the homework properly, there's a good chance that you're going to be back to square one again. So I hope that answers your question. Siblings, talk to them and see if they're prepared to go on a healing journey. If they're not, just leave them to it. Just be there to support them if they ever need that. Ultimately, if they're being abusive to you, just distance yourself. You do not want that energy. You've got to protect your energy and minimize contact or entanglements with people that are not beneficial to your goals. So if a person has a very dark, low vibe field, you don't want to be entangling with them all the time because they're going to pull you down. Okay. She cursed me up. Okay. So if you know that she's done that, then there is obviously, that you have massive soul contracts with her. Is she aware? The first thing I would want to know is, what is her awareness about all of this? She doesn't. She calls me mental, unfortunately, so I cut ties as much as possible. Elderly mother stuck in the middle. Okay. Look, if she's attacking you, then you've got to get yourself out of that situation. Do not engage anyone that is firing negative energy. You know, someone just hating you is attacking you psychically, energetically, without, they don't even know that. Those thoughts are being fired at you like wooden bullets. So you don't want, you want to, ideally, you want to strive for a life of least resistance and a life of no enemies, because for as long as people hate you, you're always going to have problems. You're always going to have to fight this negative energy that's constantly coming out of nowhere, and it will constantly work to sabotage you. So I personally, if you can't talk to your sibling and both of you reason, just remove yourself. Don't engage. She's on her own journey. She still has lots to experience, and at some point she will come to you when she has experienced everything that she needs to experience. Okay, what do you recommend for healing the thyroid area? Look, it's and again, all disease, all physical manifestations that are negative are expressions of the affinity. So the physical world, the non-physical world are both as important as each other. We live in a world of duality, balance. You've got to, so the spirit world is not more important than this physical world. We didn't come here to master spirituality. We're already masters of spirituality. We came here to master the physical. That's what we're trying to learn, and that's what we're trying to figure out. So do not use anything as escapism, especially spirituality, because you are literally running down the wrong road. The physicality is as important as the spirituality. So what I say to people that have physical symptoms of some kind of disease, you heal it from both angles. You will never heal it 100% if you only go for the physical. So if you go to the doctor will cut it out. The imprint is still there. It will express in a different way, or it will come back even more aggressive in the next life or later on in that same life. What you do is you heal the energetic imprint. So you're erasing its energy signature, you're healing it, and then you're treating the physical manifestations from the top. You're healing it from both angles. So with thyroids, whatever doctors tell you, do it. Yeah, whatever. Obviously, you want to look for more natural remedies. You want to look for, whatever you can find that is as natural as possible. Use that, but also do the energy work. You know that there's an affinity, there's an energetic imprint in your luminous field that is manifesting as that disease. So it's either you go to a shaman like me who can help you figure it out, or you try and do the work yourself, which is, yeah, I mean, it's possible. Okay, so I would recommend a luminous energy field scan so that we can see the affinities. We're able to monitor affinities in that scan as well. Okay, Billy, can a recipient kick out a demon force on our own without them coming back? Definitely, you can. It's difficult because think about it. Okay, first and foremost, everything is possible. Okay, if anybody said, no, you can't do that, then you know that they don't know what they're talking. Absolutely everything is possible. Of course you can do that. It's very difficult though. Most people can't. The reason why this demonic force or entity is attaching to you is because you have an overproduction of hucha. The affinity is processing a lot of hucha. So you're having this physical manifestations, and you know this affinity, right? And this hucha is being created. So you could clear the demon, but if you do not heal the affinity, it's going to keep coming back. The only way to prevent it from coming is working on the affinity. So if you don't know how to heal that affinity yourself, then you're always going to have the entity problem. However, sometimes the hucha production, so there's a threshold. If hucha production is below this threshold, you won't have any entity issues. You will just live a normal life. You will have problems, affinities coming, and you will heal them just by living. But if too many affinities are awake and the hucha production is more than your threshold, then you have entity issues because they're coming to feed on that surplus. So sometimes it's literally just there. So when you extract the entities, a little bit of shadow work just brings it a little bit down, and it's enough to prevent them from coming back sometimes. But sometimes, depending on the individual, depending on how damaged their field is, depending on what affinities they have active, you might need professional help. You might need to come see me or another properly initiated shaman. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Billy. Oh, someone wants to come on live. Unfortunately, Lucas, I'm looking to wrap this up in 3 minutes. I don't think we have enough time. So Lucas, join the Path of Ascension group. Admin, please post the links for the group. Please post the links for the YouTube channel. Please post the links for the website. Please post the coupons again. Everybody gets 50% discount off Luminous Energy Field Scans. Let's go and check and see what's happening in your field. And then the beauty about the Luminous Energy Field Scan is I give you a free 1-hour session. The session is worth £111. You get it for free. So for £15, okay, you get your full Luminous Energy Field Scan and you get a free session with me, okay? So we'll jump on a video call one-on-one and we'll go through your Luminous Scan and we will look at strategies and I'll help you. I'll help you with whatever problems you have. So you get that as well, okay? So jump in and book your Luminous Scans. Lots of love. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the love, definitely. It's like it gives me the superpowers. Yeah, when we share love, love is energizing. We're light beings. That's what we are. It's our sustenance. It's the fabric that makes us who we are. It's love. So when someone shares love and shows love, hearts, that's why I'm full of love in the comments. I will love you to death. I will smother you in hearts and all kinds of hearts, and because it's energetic, we're exchanging energy and we're feeding our luminous fields of this love energy. It's very important to share love. So someone throws something negative at you. If you throw something negative back, you just got sucked into a hole. Okay, no more questions. If you send love, that's a game changer. Soul family, it's been an absolute honor, an absolute pleasure. I love all of you deeply, deeply, deeply. Thank you so much for showing up, guys. Until next time.